Welcome to this week's episode of the Jungle Juice podcast. I'm Sam Gormley. He's Mick Nelson. Mick, happy draft week.
Dude, happy draft week to you as well. Also, I was able, with whatever features we have now, I was able to see you in the pregame. When that intro video is going on, I saw your little thumbnail in the bottom left.
Oh, do you not?
I can see however many views we have now too.
Oh, do you not usually get to see me?
No, I'm just like,
I mean,
yeah.
I
have too much power right now.
If we're being honest, though, probably a good thing that you didn't see me those times. I mean, like it's probably like the views are going to start to drop now that more people can see us, I guess, when it comes to that. But I am really, really excited when it comes to this week being the NFL draft, and we've got a great show planned for you at home. For us, it's pretty simple. We are going to first start the show asking some big questions going into the NFL draft for the Cincinnati Bengals, because I think there's some really interesting topics for us to dive into. I know we've teased some of these throughout the years, and now I just realized that my camera was off and I wasn't even showing my gorgeous hat there. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to finish it off with a little contest that we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks as well, where we are going to have a 7-round mock draft just for the Bengals. On Wednesday, we are going to do a first-round mock draft NFL-wide. Sadly, we aren't going to do all 257 picks during that 1-hour-long show, because that would be honestly intense and impressive if we could pull that off, Nick.
I think that would take over 24 hours.
Yeah, I don't even want to know how long that would take, especially with the people that we have on there. It's a wonder that we're going to be done in 2 hours on Wednesday. So I'm just very intrigued with how that's going to go. That we appreciate you for tuning in, though, today. Make sure to follow us on our social media channels. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We are on Twitter. We are also on your favorite podcasting platform, Spotify, iTunes, and so on. We can give a shout out to our friends in France that listen every single week. I haven't done that in a couple of weeks.
Continuous listeners in France.
Yes. I haven't given that shout out in a couple of weeks, so I wanted to make sure that we gave it to them. So shout out to France, right? I don't speak French.
Oui.
There you go. From Mick Nelson.
Croissant.
French fries, right?
French fries. Yeah, just French.
So let's dive into some of these questions that I have here, Mick, because I think it could bring up some interesting discussions for the Bengals coming up. Obviously, the NFL draft starts on Thursday, live from good old Detroit, because who doesn't want to spend their weekend in Detroit? But the Bengals pick, round 1, pick 18. Round 2 on Friday, they'll have pick 49, 80, and 97. And then on Saturday, they'll have 115, 149, 194, 214, 224, and 237. So they're going to have quite a few picks that the Bengals are going to look at. Now, obviously, that can change quite a bit as it goes along throughout these next couple of weeks, or this next 6 days, because there will probably be some semblance of a trade, and that might be something we'll discuss here in a couple of minutes. But I'm excited for this to finally get rolling. And Mick, the first question I want to drop to you is, what are the 3 position groups that you think the Bengals need to address coming up this weekend?
Yeah, so definitely need to address the offensive tackle. I'm going to go with cornerback because of the Cheeto departure, and I don't know how confident we feel in DJ Turner. We feel confident in CTB, but DJ Turner as the starting outside corner, I feel like you want a backup plan. So getting somebody in the mid-rounds there, I would be a big fan of. And then it's kind of a tie between interior offensive lineman and nose tackle. I think that they definitely should get a nose tackle, but really, if there's only one that I would say is worth it as a starter, unless if the right guy falls to you in the back rounds, I wouldn't just make that a priority. You can make it work with an additional 3 tech or with Sheldon Rankins, but just you're probably not going to get the same production as you would out of a DJ Reader. And then interior offensive line, I think you've got to you have to address that position, because I don't think that they necessarily have any backups at that position. I mean, you've got your three starters in Kappa, Karras, and Cordell Volson, and then you've got Trey Hill, and that's it. So you definitely need to address at least one interior offensive lineman. If not, you might want to double up. My mock draft, just with the way that players were falling, and I was kind of just taking best player available in the last two, and probably rounds 5 through 7. I only ran into one interior offensive lineman. Didn't see anybody worth it taking the first 4 rounds. But yeah, those are the positions I would take.
Yeah, mine's very similar to as far as the mock draft is. I do kind of agree. I think it's so interesting because to me there's 2 clear favorites in my eyes, and it's right tackle and I think interior defensive line. I think those are the 2 that are the most favored. And then I think you've got this little cluster of everything else with corner, with tight end, I think is kind of interesting in there. I don't think it's necessarily high. Wide receiver needs to be on that list as well, as they need something else in there, because right now Charlie Jones or Trenton Irwin is probably a starting wide receiver, and I'm not necessarily sure how much faith you can really put into that. And then I'm also intrigued by, for the Bengals, and I know I'm going more than 3, but linebacker. Not early, but I'm just intrigued by how they might take that position, because there is a spot. Because right now, they brought back Joe Bacci. They brought back Akeem Davis-Gaither, but I don't think they've brought back Marcus Bailey yet, at least off the top of my head. So there is a spot there, at least somebody to potentially come in and compete in that Marcus Bailey role. I mean, you think about it, Marcus Bailey, 7th round pick. So it's not like if they take a linebacker, unless a Trevin Wallace or Peyton Wilson drops maybe into early day 3, maybe you'd see them drop somebody there, but I wouldn't see them taking a linebacker until maybe 6th or 7th round, unless there's just a great value for a guy earlier on.
Yeah.
Next question for you. And I think this, to me, and I almost want to save this question, but I think it's important. Should the Bengals' lack of ability to develop offensive linemen impact their decision round 1?
I don't think it should. And I think a lot of that reasoning points to the contract you just signed Joe Burrow to. You signed Joe Burrow to a 5-year contract averaging $55 million a year. That is the most expensive contract in the NFL right now. Probably won't be in a couple of years. But you're not necessarily going to have the luxury of signing an Orlando Brown Jr. In the next few seasons. I don't know when Orlando Brown Jr.'s contract's up. I think he signed a 4-year deal with us last year, right? So you have him for another 3 years, but you're not going to be able to afford another Orlando Brown Jr.-esque signing on the right side of the offensive line as well. You're actually seeing the Chiefs having issues retaining their offensive linemen now with, their tackle situation last year. Now, I know they signed Jawan Taylor, but that was, it's not like he was a world beater last year, and he wasn't one of the top sought after tackles either. So I think that they've got to give it a go in terms of drafting an offensive lineman, just given the contract that you're paying Joe Burrow right now. And, I think Jonah displayed, plenty of decent talent and had good production up until that knee injury in 2022. And, you switched from the right side in 2023 and you knew there was going to be a learning curve there. So, and we've seen him develop. We've seen them do it before, I guess is the point I'm going at with Jonah there.
I think it's really interesting because I think one of the things that takes a organization from being a good organization to being a great organization are those that can self-scout themselves. And really, this is just life in general. Somebody that can look in the mirror and say, I need to be better at this. Or I'm just not very good at this and I need to hire somebody else to do this. Like, I mean, Mick, I think it's safe to say that neither one of us is the handiest man in the world. I think it's probably safe to say that. So what do? We realize, hey, we're not very handy. We're going to call somebody that knows what they're doing. And that's kind of where I'm interested to see if the Bengals realize that they're not very handy when it comes to picking out the offensive linemen, and they just got to go right in at the start and not draft insert mid day 2, day 3 guy to be a project. And that's kind of my question here.
Yes. Okay. I see what you're kind of going with. And then the Jonah argument kind of backs that up too, because Jonah was a first round draft pick and, played decent for a lot of his NFL career. But yeah, I don't think they're very good at just finding that fourth round, mid round offensive lineman that's just going to be a really good productive starter. Now we do have Cordell Volson as our starting left guard, but he hasn't been particularly great. You drafted Jackson Carman in the second round. He's turned out to be largely a bust. Deontay Smith in the fourth. Trey Hill in the sixth. But yeah,
Hakeem Adeniji was a 6th round pick and wasn't awful, but still, I mean, who's the last late round offensive line product that the Bengals have drafted that have really done much? I guess wasn't Clint? Clint Bowling, wasn't he a 4th round pick? Was he a 3rd round pick?
Clint was a 3rd round. Russell Bodine was a 4th. But you had Whitworth, who was a 2nd, and Andre Smith, who was number 6 overall. Kevin Zeitler was a 4th
Clint Bowling was a 4th round pick. So there you go. That might be the last answer of being a solid guy drafted on day 3. And listen, Cordell Wilson might be that guy.
We got to remember 2 different evaluators too. I know you had Duke in both of those years, but you had Paul Alexander, who I think was very good at developing offensive linemen in the 2010s and the 2000s. But you have Frank here now. I haven't seen a single offensive lineman develop under Frank through the Bengals franchise. Now he had Mekhi Becton in his rookie year.
And that's kind of where I'm asking is, because of that, does that force the Bengals into taking a tackle in round 1?
I think I think that definitely plays a factor into it, but I think it's just a talent at the position in general. I mean, I don't know how many, late round offensive tackles or offensive linemen in the NFL in general, end up, panning out to be very good quality starters. And usually those that, do turn out to be quality starters have they have Bill Callahan as their offensive line coach, or whoever the Eagles offensive line coach as their offensive line coach. I mean, those guys are, very rare to come by in the league.
Yeah, I just find it very interesting because I also don't know the answer to this question, because I don't know how the Bengals feel. Like, I don't know if they are man enough to realize that they can't fix when the toilet is running too much.
No, they have shown, an ability
to pay for that
tackles early, though. They've shown a willingness to do that. Has it always turned out to be the right guy? No. I mean,
Cedric
I think Jonah was
Jackson Carman. Jake
Fisher. They literally doubled up at the position in 2015. I mean, that's
went big old swing and a miss on both.
It was a big old swing and a miss, but it still was. They've shown a willingness to do that, is what I'm saying, and it's not like that they're not going to be willing to draft a tackle at pick number 18. And we both think it's going to be extremely likely they do, and they've shown a history of doing that.
Matt asks, I know I've asked before, but any chance we re-sign Tyler Boyd? I'd still set it as low, but I think when we have our show in a week, that percentage could rise. Or I really think that, the Tyler Boyd decision is going to be next week. It could be 15% or it's going to be 0%. And it's all going to depend on who the Bengals draft coming up on Friday.
Thursday. Well, we think it's going to be Friday, yes.
Yes.
It could be Thursday or Saturday. But yeah, I think there's a pretty small chance Tyler Boyd's back. I'm even if they don't find a slot guy in this draft, I'm still very interested into what Charlie Jones could be as a slot receiver in the NFL, just because I think he's got really good length, with which the Bengals like to have at the slot position. They don't like the traditional slot wide receiver where it's the tiny, quick, shifty guy.
Like our boy from Oregon State.
Yeah, he's not going to be in my mock draft.
He is not on mine either. Spoiler alert.
I've got a good slot receiver that.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. You want to jump into it? Do we have any more questions?
I do have a couple more questions that I want to hit before we jump into that. When will the Bengals make their first trade? Or will the Bengals make a trade?
If they do, I hope they trade up in the second round to get the guy that I want that might be available at 49, but there's a good chance he might not be available at 49.
I think it'll be day 3, and I think it's going to be trading up because I think we've talked about this. It's 9 picks for the Bengals? I think that's what it is. They don't have 9 open spots in the roster.
Oh, no, they might have 10, actually.
Is it 10? In fact, let's just count them when they're at the bottom. Here we go. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or you can just count them at the bottom as they go through here. If we were good at our job, Mick, we would have actually had this answer. But okay, you're counting.
I have 10.
10, okay. How many
18, 49, 80, 97, 115, 149, 194, 214, 224, 237.
Are there 3 7th-round picks?
I think so.
Oh, well, you are correct. There are 3. No, wait. There's 2 6th-round picks. Are there? That's what it is.
Okay, so there's 10.
Okay, there are 10. Wow. Okay, now I need to. My mock draft is no longer correct. I need to find another guy, Mick. This is the problem now.
Which pick are you missing?
My second 6th-round pick.
214.
Yes. Okay, so this is a great job. We're killing it already. Here's a question for you while I start diving into my notes. I'm killing it. As we talked about before, it's been a whale of the last 24 hours, so it's moving through.
You could just do it in live time. I can give you my draft board from that, and you can just pick whoever the hell you want.
What is a move that the Bengals could make this weekend that would surprise you but not shock you?
I think drafting a punter would surprise me but not shock me, just because they did draft a punter last year in Brad Robbins, and Brad Robbins did have a disappointing 2023. But I don't know if the Bengals would be willing to give him another shot. I think that they should. And also, I don't think it'd be wise to draft the punter 2 years in a row. Like, if you were going to go and find a replacement, you might as well just find an undrafted free agent instead. That might provide some competition for Brad. But I wouldn't be shocked if they selected a punter in this year's draft.
I think that's a good answer. That's a good answer. Let's see here. Matt asks, this is a good question. Do you guys see us making a big move, maybe a trade or surprise pick in the first round of the draft? This is kind of like in his, similar to the question that I just asked. I think that the chance, let's just put it right here, Mick. Percentage chance the Bengals trade up in the draft on Thursday in round 1.
2%.
I was going to say like 0.1%.
I don't think they do.
Trade down?
They could. I think there's a good chance. I don't think it's a huge. I think probably like 10.
I'm going to say 4.
Okay.
4%. What is the chance that the pick is not a trench or corner?
Small. Because the only other option I have is wide receiver. I mean, that they have is wide out in the first round.
You also got somebody from Georgia in there.
I don't think he's going to be available.
Okay, Alex Schubert. No fun allowed on this podcast. No, I'm not. I'm not disagreeing with you at all when it comes to that. Okay, I found my other guy. He was somebody that I cut earlier, but I still hope he's on there. And I mean, listen, this is just for fun anyway. Okay, one last question for you, Mick. If the Bengals don't do this, the draft would almost be a failure. Failure might not even be the right word, but I think you know where I'm going to say.
I don't know, draft a tackle, I guess. I mean, they need to come away with a backup plan for Trent Brown in case if Trent Brown gets hurt. And
They have
we've
Jackson
talked about,
Carman.
yeah, it's not gonna. I don't know if that's gonna work there. And also Jackson's better on the left side than the right side. But anyways, yeah, they need to find a starting caliber offensive tackle, or at least somebody that can fill Trent Brown's void if and when Trent Brown eventually, gets injured in the 2024 season, which you and I have talked about extensively on the show. People talk about Teron Armstead being the elite tackle that misses a lot of football. And he's, if somebody asked you to give a player with those two descriptors, people would say Teron Armstead. But Trent Brown has missed almost the same percentage of his games that Teron Armstead's missed.
I think it's one of those things. I mean, the Bengals are paying Trent Brown, like a 4.5 a year?
It's an entirely incentives-based contract, too.
And the reason for it, if Trent Brown was healthy every game, he would never be the right tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals because they probably wouldn't be able to afford him.
Expensive.
Exactly. Yeah. They signed a lottery ticket. It might be the greatest signing the Bengals have had in a while as far as value-wise, or he might go into the realm of the forgotten guys like Riley Reef.
I was going to say, what are the odds that he turns out to be Cordy Glenn, or Riley Reef? Yeah.
Yeah. Cordy Glenn getting a mention.
I remember being so excited for the Cordy Glenn trade.
It is draft season, so we do have to typically mention a Cordy Glenn mention on there. Okay. Those are the main questions that I had. So I think without further ado, we're going to jump into our mock draft contest game. I don't really know how it's going to go, but here's how Mick and I are doing it. We are setting up points for this. So if we correctly guess the Bengals pick in round 1, we get 1 point. If we correctly guess the Bengals pick in round 2, we get 2 points. Round 3, 3 points. 4, 4, and so on. One thing I didn't bring up to you, Mick, and I think what better time to discuss this than right on the show. I don't know how you feel about this. I have an idea, but I'm not tied to it. Let's say we pick Billy Bob Johnson, and you say he's a 6th round pick, but the Bengals end up taking him in the 5th round.
I think you get points for that.
Here's my idea. Half points for it.
Yes. Okay,
so like,
I like that idea.
If he was picked, if you said he was picked in the 6th, but he ends up getting picked in the 5th, you get 2.5 points. Fair?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. We'll be back on Wednesdays, you jerk. Nobody's asking
Leroy, what is with this profile pic?
I don't know. There is no human being that changes their profile picture more than Mr. Leroy Klamola. And yeah.
Should we get Leroy should we have Leroy come on for the Bears pick?
I think I know where Leroy is going to say. I think he was telling me
Marvin Harrison train.
No, he's actually on the Carter Bradley train, number 1 overall. It's an interesting take, but I respect it that he wants
you guys have a quarterback. You guys have a quarterback from your alma mater, WKU, and you guys are going to pick Carter Bradley over Austin Reed.
Yeah,
where's the loyalty?
I've heard some stories about Austin Reed that I don't know that.
Oh, really?
No, nothing bad. I just don't think he'd be a fit for the Bengals. I don't know that leader is
he got some like Zach Wilson kind of traits to him.
Yeah, that might be. He kind of looks like Zach Wilson too. While I'm thinking about it.
Ooh.
So that's how we're going to do this little contest as well. It's just for fun. If you want to at home join in, by all means, you're allowed. We're just doing it for pure bragging rights against us, which is maybe the best prize that we can give to human beings. Let's start with the first round, Mick. Do I need to? We'll at least do this for just the first round. Mick, Roger Goodell is walking up. Who's the Bengals' first round pick?
Am I allowed to make my selection?
Yes, that's what I was saying. That was kind of the there.
With the 18th pick in the NFL draft, Cincinnati Bengals select Olu Fashanu, offensive Fashanu, not Fashanu, Fashanu, offensive tackle out of Penn State.
That would be a great pick. And he's been one of those guys that has been kind of floating. I mean, you think about it, that 4 months ago,
he's projected to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, and now it's not crazy for you to say that he's available at pick number 18. And I think if he's there, it's a very interesting decision for the Bengals.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's not a left tackle, he's not a right tackle, by the way. He's played left tackle his entire career at Penn State, but he's looked really good at doing so. I know we talked about Talize Fuaga, but it seems like Fuaga's and Fashanu's draft stock are going in complete opposite directions, to the point where I think Fuaga is starting to become offensive tackle number 2 on the consensus draft board. I think he's probably taken before pick number 18 now. But Fashanu is just kind of giving you that Miles Murphy, kind of energy to the pick, where, Miles Murphy was projected to be a top 20, I think, pick last year, and the Bengals were able to snag him at pick number 29. So kind of reminds me of that, but I'm not sure if you watched any of Fashanu's tapes, Sam, but his pass blocking footwork is some of the best I've seen from a prospect.
Not a great run blocker, but it's not like that's something that the Bengals
need.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they want. Yeah.
But he's only 6'6", though.
He's not a giant. He's like a regular size tackle. Oh no.
I mean, does that take him out for the Bengals? Like, he's not a freak of nature, just a semi-freak.
I think they still take him if he's available at 18.
Speaking of 18, did you want to? Are you done, or do you want me to cue my chime for me to drop in my first round pick?
I just want to bring up your favorite thing to mention about draft prospects is that he was also a team captain in 2020.
And listen, for the Bengals, that means something. That means something. All righty, I'm going to cue it. Did it play all the way? No, I don't think it played all the way.
No, it was just there we go.
There we go. Okay, it needs to play the entire way. With the 18th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Byron Murphy, defensive tackle from Texas. I really think this is the way the Bengals are going to go. Like, I don't know why I've changed my tune, but in the past couple of weeks, I just think it's getting more and more. The Bengals want their Chris Jones.
Yeah.
I think that's their case. And in this draft, I know that there's some Jerzon Newton love, or Johnny Newton, or whatever the heck he wants to be called. And he could be that, but I think Byron Murphy might be the closest. And I don't want to say that he's going to be Chris Jones right off the bat, but you're trying to take a wild card of getting a guy like that, or an Aaron Donald, or so on. Because you look at it, in the Joe Burrow era, the Cincinnati Bengals have lost 2 playoff games. What was the common factor in both of those games? They had a dude on the interior of the defensive line, in Aaron Donald and Chris Jones. And I think the Bengals want their dude on the interior and to get young when it comes to that point. So I think Byron Murphy is going to be the pick number 1 for the Bengals.
Yeah, I like Byron Murphy a lot, too. I think he'd be a slam dunk pick at number 18. Now, my mock that I did not. He was gone. I had him going to the Jets at number 10. So I
He's a
think
guy that has been impossible to mock because you see him go as high as 10, and you see some mock drafts. I was reading one from, I don't even remember who it was, maybe NFL.com earlier, that had him at 24.
Yeah. So here's my question with that is that if Byron Murphy is not available at pick number 18, are you picking Johnny Newton or are you going in a different direction?
You got to tell me who my offensive tackles are.
Let's say it's Latham. Fashanu is, well, say if Fashanu is available, but if that, there's a good chance Fashanu isn't available at 18.
If Fashanu or Fawaga was there, I would pick them over. Latham, I'd be on the fence, and I'd go kind of back and forth on. I would not be mad. Like, I don't know that you can go wrong with it, but I think Byron Murphy is the guy there. But it's surprising to see a Northwestern fan mention.
What if there was like a Terrion Arnold or a Quinyon Mitchell available?
Now, that would be interesting as well.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. But, well, for you, if Fashanu's not there, how are you dropping it?
If Mitchell or Arnold are available, there's a good chance I'm very high on Quinyon Mitchell, by the way. I don't think he's available at 18. I think he is a freak athlete, a really good corner. He reminds me a lot of Sauce Gardner, in maybe not in the way that they play, but in terms of, I think they're both he's very capable of being a Sauce Gardner shutdown kind of corner in the league. His athleticism numbers are incredible. And then Terrion Arnold, I think, provides a lot of upside too as a man corner, but the Bengals don't run too much man. But you kind of just want a guy that's an absolute, dog at corner, and Terrion Arnold kind of fits that bill. I'm starting to kind of slide on JC Latham a little bit. I've watched some tape where I haven't been too comfortable with drafting him at pick number 18. So his stock is just kind of sliding for me a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. But I think corner is definitely in play there if is not available or Fuaga is not available either.
And I'm not mad. And I don't think you're going to be mad if they announce Byron Murphy on.
No, wouldn't be mad at all
as the pick. Is there somebody that they would draft that would make you mad?
Brian
Barring
Thomas.
That would make you mad?
I wouldn't be very thrilled with it. I mean,
I guess, and I'm glad you took that as, I'm not meaning, obviously if they come out and they draft Torrey Taylor, the punter out of Iowa, everyone's going to be like, what the hell? But I'm a legitimate pick that would make you mad. It would be, or that you would go, would be Brian Thomas.
Yeah, it'd be Brian Thomas Jr. for sure.
And I think that's very fair. Okay, you ready to move on to round number 2? I guess we'll just snake it. So I'll go first this time, even though we can theoretically pick the same guy. There's no rule against that. Do we want
this is one of the spots where I think that we might have the same guy here.
Do we want to chime it again or
yeah, do it. Who gives a crap?
With the second round pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select Roman Wilson, wide receiver from Michigan.
Ooh, we did not have the same pick.
Slot, I don't know about Charlie Jones, and I think that they need somebody that they can trust a little bit more. I think, I mentioned the stats that he, 79.2% of his catches last year resulted in a first down or a touchdown. And have the Bengals necessarily had great success with guys out of Michigan in the past couple of years? No. But they have consistently gone back there over these past couple of seasons. Dax Hill, Brad Robbins, Chris Evans, they continuously go back. DJ Turner, they've gone there multiple times. Clearly they have a relationship in that scouting department or in that football program. So that's why I think it's going to be Roman Wilson as the Bengals pick.
So Roman Wilson was off my board, or else he would have been probably my selection at 49. I had him going at pick number 48 to the Jaguars. So
really close.
One pick too late. Yeah, very, very close. And then I would be picking the other guy that I really love. Yep, go ahead and do the chime. With the 49th pick in the NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver out of Florida, and pretty much drafting him for the same reason Sam drafted Roman Wilson. Slot wide receiver, very, very dependable, great hands, really good route runner. Reminds me personally a lot of Cooper Kupp, which if we got Cooper Kupp in Ricky Pearsall, that would be, I don't think anybody's stopping us there.
Are you just saying that because he's a white wide receiver?
I mean, I'm not, just kind of falling into that, comparison
Hey,
there.
listen, we always had to do it. Let's jump into round number 3 here. The first pick. So we get 2 guys in the 3rd round. We made the rule 2 last week that theoretically, if these picks flip-flop, it still counts, right?
Yeah.
We're not necessarily so
We'll
your first
yeah.
Or you want to say both of them at the same time, or you want let's just go one at a time.
Let's just go pick number 80.
Pick number 80, Mick. Come.
With the 80th pick in the NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Kyrie Jackson, cornerback out of Oregon. Transferred from Alabama in 2023 to Oregon, was first team all Pac-12 in 2023 with 3 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. He's really great at creating and winning in contested catch situations. He has a very long frame at 6'4". He's very lanky. Had an 80.5 defensive grade in 2023 and a 77 grade in coverage. Graded even better against the run, which I think is something that Lou likes having in his corners. Plays physical, and I think he would be a very good potential starter in the Bengals defense on day 1.
Good pick. I like that pick. I was looking at trying to find my corner. I had to wait a little bit longer than I really wanted to because with my pick number, what? Did that sound weird to you?
No, it sounded normal to me.
There's something about the connection. This happens sometimes where it just makes some really weird noises, and I wish I could replay it. It like takes it up an octave every once in a while. Weird.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, it's weird because it only happens sometimes. Bengals, since I didn't take my offensive tackle in round number 1, we're going to go round number 3 with pick number 80. The Cincinnati Bengals select Blake Fisher.
Okay.
Right tackle out of Notre Dame. I think he is really, and I know we've talked about this, Mick, is like you've got this grouping at the top of your Lathams, your Fawagas, your Fashionus, your Alts, and so on. And then really after them, there's just like, oh, there's a guy. Oh, there's a guy. Oh, there's a guy. And then you're done, really. Like there's not a lot after day 1. And Blake Fisher is one of those guys that could potentially be a guy like that. Biggest thing with him that draws me to him is almost all of his experience at Notre Dame came as a right tackle, meaning that you're not going to have to work at it. But he does have experience as a left tackle, as we mentioned on the show whenever we talked about day 2, or I don't even remember. He might have been a day 3 guy that we talked about.
I think we talked about him day 2.
But regardless as to whenever it was, he's kind of in that round 3, maybe early 4th round grade. The only reason he moved from left tackle to right tackle is because Notre Dame signed this guy by the name of Joe Alt. I don't know, you may have heard of him. And it was a pretty easy decision after that. Although it was funny. I know we've talked about the mock draft simulator for PFF and so on. They're not perfect. I did one the other day, and Joe Alt was available at 18.
Oh, God.
Easy decision.
Yeah, that's
easy decision. Yeah, no, it's not.
This is why you have to do all of your picks. You have to do all of the picks.
I like doing them just because sometimes it's fun. And I like when PFF had it open for free, I liked turning up randomness all the way because it would just be fun on just some of the wildness that could come out. For my 2nd round, it just did it again. Weird. In the 3rd round, this is one I've gone back and forth on, and I don't know that I necessarily think the Bengals are going to do this. But with pick number 97, the Cincinnati Bengals take Ben Sinnott, tight end from Kansas State.
Yes!
I don't think they do this. But they need another tight end in that room. And why not get a dude while you're at it? Dude, I don't know that he's necessarily fits the Gesicki role. Mm-hmm. But then again, why not put him and Gesicki on the field at the same time and line Gesicki up out wide? like Gesicki has experience being more of
Like
a
a
wide
slot
receiver.
receiver.
Yeah, and I just think it could bring some fun with that. And I know, Mick, that I don't know that there would be a pick that would make you happier
Oh, I'd
than
be
the
so
Bengals
happy.
taking Ben Sinnott. So in the third round, I'm taking the tight end out of Kansas State, who's been rising up everybody's draft boards over these last couple of weeks.
So my heart broke when I did the my mock draft. I had Ben Sinnott mock too. I don't want to say it.
Is it a team in the North?
No, it's not.
Oh, who?
Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh.
As potentially the heir apparent to Travis Kelce, which there's a good chance he could be that. I think he projects very, very well at the NFL level. Oh, there you go. Matt gave you some props here.
I've gotten
But
two
yeah,
props from him.
I love you're getting props from me too. I love Ben Sinnott. But I have a different pick for the 97th overall pick in the NFL draft. The Cincinnati Bengals select Audric Estime, running back of Notre Dame. Did not expect to be picking Audric Estime here, but I think he is a really good running back, and I think he could fill the Joe Mixon void very well. He's very downhill power type of back. He's got good size at 6'1", 221 pounds. Was a second-team All-American in 2023, over 1,300 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns. It's an 8.13 RAS score. The speed numbers weren't great, but the explosion numbers were elite. Graded really well in 2023, 94.0 run grade, 72 receiving grade. I think that I would be really happy if he was our, Joe Mixon replacement in the office. I think he could fill that void very, very capably.
Yeah, not very fast, but he is more of the Joe Mixon style where he is more of the bruiser when it comes to that. Okay, day 2's done. So it's, our first 2 rounds right now. I've got Byron Murphy, Roman Wilson, Blake Fisher, and Ben Sinnott. Mick's got Fashanu, Pearsall, Jackson, and Estime. So now we jump into round number 4 where the Bengals only pick once. Mick, you say that we're going to go the same, and I'm going to say no, we're not.
With the 115th pick in the NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Dwayne Carter, defensive tackle out of Duke.
No, he was not my 4th round pick. I thought you were going somewhere else with that of trying to pick, but yeah, no, we talked about him, 3-time team captain, just a solid 3-tech.
Yeah, I think he could be a very good rotational piece. Was also a finalist for the academic Heisman. Is what I don't know. I think it's like the Maxwell Award, something along those lines. But yeah, 3-time team captain, academic All-American. We'll at least call him that. Has a really good bull rush, good RAS score, 8.93. Explosion and speed measurables were great. His defensive grade by a PFF in 2023 was okay. He had a 70 defensive grade, 69 run defense grade, and a 67 pass rush grade. I think he would just be a really good locker room guy, and I think you've got to redeem yourself from the interior defensive lineman pick in the mid rounds with the also with the last name of Carter, which happened in 2022. So you got to redeem yourself there with Dwayne, not to be confused with Wheezy F Baby.
I guess I got to hit mine here for. My chime is broken in my ears, Mick, and I hate it because it doesn't sound the same.
Your headphones, because it sounds the same to me.
It is so disappointing to me that I almost want to turn my chime off because in the 4th round, the Cincinnati Bengals select. It's the one I've been going back and forth on. Will Shipley, running back from Clemson.
Oh, okay. I like Will Shipley.
Yeah, he's quick. He's got the return aspect in him, which I think is something that the Bengals would want. Battled a little bit of injuries, which is a little bit of a concern. Does have some wear and tear, but he is a established pass catcher as well as being, he averaged 5.2 yards a run over his 3 years at Clemson. So I'm going to jump into Will Shipley from Clemson as my 4th round running back. We've not gone the same at all.
No,
which is
I don't
interesting.
think we're going the same on these picks either.
Yeah, I don't know. We might have at least one that overlaps, maybe not in the same round, because we're going to head into the 5th round now, which is what pick number what, Mick? You have them in. Oh, wait, it's right there in front of me. 129.
149.
149. Even better. With the 149th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Matt Lee.
Oh, no.
Center from Miami.
Would love this pick. I don't know where I have him on my draft board.
We talked about him at length last on, I guess it was Wednesday's show. We dove deep into him. I mean, 48 career starts at center. He was a freshman All-American at UCF. Decent athlete as well, but he is a little smaller at center, 6'3", 300. But I think he'd be a good guy that could learn under Ted Karras and take his spot with that. I don't know, Matt. Maybe we will draft a linebacker in this draft. I don't know. I don't know if Mick has one. I don't know if I have one. We'll have to wait and see as it goes along. Do you have anything on Matt Hull or Matt Lee? Or do you have any comments?
I love Matt
or do you
Lee.
want to...
I think he's a really good pick. I would probably go high on him. But I think 149. I've heard of crazier things in the world, but he's number 205 on my draft board. So didn't have him. I don't have him in my draft, but I didn't have him as high as 149. But I think I like.
I didn't want to wait until round 6 to grab him.
I wouldn't want to wait either. So
and that's kind of my thing. I mean, I'm fine with reaching if that's your guy, get him.
Yeah.
Are you ready? You ready for the chime?
With the 149th pick in the NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Marist Liufau, off-ball linebacker out of Notre Dame. So there's one of your linebackers. I've got another linebacker on here too, which is just kind of a best player available thing for me. So anyways, Liufau, watched his tape, pretty aggressive off-ball linebacker, really good tackler. I think would be a good depth piece and a good nickel linebacker. Plays with good IQ, graded pretty well in 2023, 74 defensive grade, 67 run defense, and 84 coverage grade, which was a little eye-popping to me. Not sure if you have any notes on Liufau. I did not have any notes on him prior to this afternoon, but I think it'd be a good pick.
I guess we're both going to Hawaii then for guys, because I went Roman Wilson and you're going with Liufau. I don't know a lot about him. He wasn't on my list. 4'6", 440 though for a linebacker. That's pretty solid as well.
Decent.
Plays 4-2-5 scheme, so that's similar to what the Bengals run as well. So there's some scheme familiarity with that. 25 straight starts as well. All righty, jumping into the first pick of the 6th round, Mick.
The 194th pick in the NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Nathaniel Watson, inside linebacker out of Mississippi State. Provides depth piece at inside linebacker. Plays with a lot of grit. Plays like an old school linebacker. Really good at blitzing the quarterback when called to do it. Graded decent in 2023, 72 defense grade, 71 against the run, but his coverage grade was pretty poor. So, Nathaniel Watson out of Mississippi State, inside linebacker.
Back-to-back linebackers. Look at you go there. I didn't have that necessarily on the bingo card of going that early. I mean, going back-to-back linebackers. But hey, if that's how the draft lands, and that's how the draft lands, you know?
Yeah.
In fact, I did write him down. With the sixth round, okay. With pick number 194 in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals draft defensive tackle McKinley Jackson.
There's
from
your
Texas
nose.
A&M. There's my nose. Going into the 6th round, grabbing him. A couple of things with him. I know we talked about him on Wednesday's show as well, but he was one of the Bengals' top 30 visits. That's interesting to me. You know, clearly they have at least some semblance of interest with him. 2-time team captain as well. Didn't play a lot of snaps at Texas A&M, especially a lot of snaps per game, so he might need to work up his conditioning a little bit. But then again, you're drafting a guy in the 6th round. Like you're not getting the next freak of nature on the interior. But I think the Bengals need to come away with a guy. And see, when you mentioned 4th round, I thought you were going to say that we both were going T'Vondre Sweat, but I don't have him on my board.
No, he would
that's
be.
What I was
still
intrigued
as
by.
a late second, early 3rd rounder on my board, even after the incident.
It is wild how much his draft stock, blows around, because I've seen some that have him as a 4th round grade. So it's just very interesting when it comes to him. But yes, I am taking McKinley Jackson, nose tackle from Texas A&M.
I like that pick. I like it.
I feel like 6th round grade.
Where was Christian Boyd on your board? He was kind of high on my board too for a nose tackle, but
5th, 6th, kind of in that realm of being. I reached on. If you want to say, I reached on Matt Lee to get my center instead of maybe reaching on Christian Boyd, because I was hoping that McKinley Jackson would theoretically still be there.
So were you kind of going through a simulator on this?
I was. I mean, looking at grades and so on, and also just a lot of it is just pure guessing.
See, with McKinley Jackson, I had him much higher on my board. He was a 155 on my draft board, so I don't think he would have been available for me. But yeah, I like McKinley Jackson as the potential starting nose tackle.
My next 6th round pick, another guy that I might be or he's probably already gone, but this is the guy that I had to throw on my list because I forgot to mention another 6th round pick. I'll go Dwight McLaurin.
Oh. We talked about him last week.
Cornerback from Arkansas. He's probably maybe late 5th, 6th round guw.
I have about 185.
So he's probably in that realm. Maybe he's hanging around a little bit. 6'1" and a half, led Arkansas in interceptions the last 2 years. So he's the guy that I'm throwing in there because, frankly, I hadn't drafted a corner yet, and that would worry me if we got into the 6th round and I haven't drafted a corner yet. And he's the guy that's maybe that late that I'd feel the most comfortable with potentially coming in and competing with DJ Turner.
I really don't know why he's so low on draft boards.
It is interesting.
I think he's really, really good. I think he's like top-rated corner on PFF last year. If I remember correctly, I think if he's not number 1, he's got to at least be top 5, top 10. Number 2, 91.3 grade. Quinyon Mitchell is number 1. But yeah, really good length, plays the corner position really well. I think that would be a great pick at 214, and I would be down with that 100 times out of 100.
Alrighty, for your next 6th round pick.
With the 214th pick in the NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Xavier Thomas, edge rusher out of Clemson. Just kind of the best player available on my board at the time. For pick number 214, I think he'd be a good depth piece on the edge. Has good football IQ, really good at sniffing out screens and in trick plays. He's a little bit smaller for an edge. He's 6'2", 244, but graded well in 2023. 75 defense grade, 73 run defense grade, 80 pass rush grade. Also played with Myles Murphy last year, so there's a little bit of a roster connection and at the same position. But yeah, Xavier Thomas, defensive lineman or edge rusher out of Clemson.
He was also a guy that the Bengals brought in for a top 30 visit as well.
Was he really?
So I can bring you that. Oh. He was. So that should at least bring something in the realm there. Let's hop into the 7th round now, where the Bengals have 2 picks. It's pick 224, Mick.
God, I hated this pick. With the 224th pick in the NFL draft, the Bengals select Brevin Spann-Ford, tight end out of Minnesota. Not a big fan of this pick, but I think that he does have a lot of potential upside. And in the 7th round, I think that they should at least take a flyer on him. Graded pretty horribly in 2023 with Minnesota. Lots of drops. Can't even see he graded in the 50s in Minnesota last year, but has a good frame. He's 6'6", 260 pounds, really good size for an inline tight end. Decent speed and okay explosion grades via the RAS score. Receiving line won't wow you. 25 receptions, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. Definitely considered a project, but I think maybe a project worth exploring.
Here's a stat that's going to scare you. And you might have this on here to why his PFF grade's probably so low. Last year, 9 drops.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, like this is the 7th round. Like,
yeah.
What are you really gonna expect? Okay, you ready for this, Mick?
Yeah.
With pick number 224, the Cincinnati Bengals select Carlton Johnson Jr., cornerback from Fresno State. He is probably a slot, but as we've mentioned a lot, Mick, the Bengals need to find a guy that can fill the void that will be left by Mike Hilton very soon. 4.28 42, which is that's a guy that Lou would probably like being in there. He spent his first couple of years at Southern Utah before transitioning to Fresno State. I mean, last year, 4 interceptions, led the team. He was second team All Mountain West. I mean, he ran 22.2 miles per hour during Senior Bowl practices. That's
pretty good.
That's elite. So it'd be interesting. And I mean, again, 7th round corner. I mean, you're trying to take in there. He would be competing with DJ Ivey coming back from a ACL injury to be like the 6th corner on the team or the 7th corner, or however many the Bengals go with when it comes to that. So I guess it's time now for my final pick 237. This isn't necessarily a hot take. The Bengals select Ryan Recco, or however you say it, punter from BYU. I think they are. And listen, this would not shock me, and I don't think it would necessarily shock you if the Bengals take a punter. I know we talked about that earlier. I think they will. I think they're going to get somebody in there, and I think 7th round, you've got 2 of those 7th round picks. To me, we didn't make a trade.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an extra 7th round pick, so let's just try and see if this punter might be better than Brad Robbins. So I'm going to go to BYU, Ryan Recco, with my final pick of the 7th round.
Okay. End this off here. Pick number 237 in the NFL draft, the Bengals select Charles Turner III, center out of LSU. People say he's a center-only prospect, so if that's the case, that's the case. You could always kick Trey Hill to guard, but I didn't have any interior offensive linemen before now, and now I do. So Charles Turner III, welcome to the team.
So let's go over our drafts right now. For me, Byron Murphy, Roman Wilson, Blake Fisher, Ben Sinnott, Will Shipley, Matt Lee, McKinley Jackson, Dwight McLaurin, Ryan Recco, and Carlton Johnson Jr. Mick, Olu Fashanu, Ricky Pearsall, Kyrie Jackson, Audric Estime, Dwayne Carter, Maris Leofau, Nathaniel Watson, Xavier Thomas, Brevin Spann-Ford, and Charles Turner III.
Those are our drafts.
So, yeah. I mean, congratulations to those guys for probably guaranteeing that they're not going to be drafted by the Bengals now, since we picked them, and we're both going to get a big.
I'll be happy to get one pick right. I will be happy. I don't care what pick it is, but I'll be happy to get at least one right.
See, I'm waiting for one of us to just we nail 1st, 2nd, and 4th, nail it. And then one of us, and then the other person just get a 7th round pick and it be a tie based on that. Just based on the luck of getting one of those 7th round guys correct. So I find it interesting when it comes to that. But I'm really excited to jump into the draft on Thursday, seeing who the Bengals do add to this team. As a reminder, on Wednesday, we are going to mock the entire first round. So we have a couple of buddies that'll be coming on to join us, and we are going to be gifted, that we don't know, a division group. So one of us will get the teams in the Norths. So in both AFC and NFC, one of us will get the teams in the South, Easts, and Wests. We're going to do a full mock draft. We're going to hear the chime 32 times.
A lot. Yeah.
It might get a little annoying, but you know what? Why not? We're going to have some fun with it. And it's going to be enjoyable, and we're going to have a Bengals themed mock draft. And one of the things I was discussing, Mick, and we can just talk about this on the air because why not? Are we going to, as a team, make the Bengals pick, or whoever gets the Bengals gets to make the Bengals pick?
No, as a team do it, but we got to come to a consensus, and that might take a minute to do.
And that's fine. But I think once we get to that point, that'll be a discussion point, since we are a Bengals podcast, of who the Bengals would select at this point. But I think the biggest thing for it is that we're mocking what we think is going to happen and not what we hope happens for the Bengals. So if Brock Bowers is there, we have to take him, like kind of thing, to the Colts or whoever it is that might be drafting Brock Bowers. But that is going to be Wednesday at 8 Eastern. So we invite you to join us for that. Make sure to follow us on our social media channels as well. And yeah, we've got a lot of fun planned on that, and throughout the draft as well. Mick, any parting thoughts or thoughts for the draft as we get ready into these next coming days?
No, enjoy watching the draft. Hopefully you guys tune into our show on Wednesday. It should be really fun. It's probably going to be less formal with Tommy and Schubert joining the group, but I think it'd be a really fun time. So tune into that and have fun watching the draft on Thursday. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely. So we'll see you on Wednesday, 8 Eastern, and this will be our final Sunday show, barring something drastic happening.
Barring tax season coming back next year.
Yes, or breaking news that we have to come on and talk because something awful has happened, probably. Or something fantastic. It could be. You never know with it. I hope it's that, not something awful happening. But so yeah, we'll be back Wednesdays for the remainder of the summer, hopefully getting you ready for the NFL season. So until next time, Hoo Day.
Hoo Day.